What do you get when you combine a Jehovah's Witness and a Buddhist? Someone who knocks on your door and contemplates why no one answers. What if you cross a Jehovah's Witness and a Zen Buddhist? You get the sound of one door slamming. What if someone said to you, the earth is round, but the universe is flat? What does it mean when a thing is flat? It means that it has two dimensions, that among the main three, length, width, and depth, one is absent, or has been reduced to inscrutability. Now personally, I cannot conceive of how to contain a globe within a canvas. Sure, one with sufficient skill can paint a globe on the canvas, but such is not an actual globe, only a representation of one. And the picture itself is definitely not round. It is as flat as the canvas itself. If the painter is good, it looks round because of the dynamics of human perception, but it really isn't, and we can all tell that. This is how we recognize the skill of the painter, the skill for making a flat thing look round, or perhaps vice versa. But if we look close enough, we can tell that even the canvas has depth. One of its dimensions has been pushed toward the limit of what we can perceive, but it still exists. The same holds true about each application of paint to it. That is, of course, because the painting occupies three dimensions. This description applies to the painting, every object in the world, and the world itself. For a three-dimensional object to exist, it must have three-dimensional space. Though perhaps many of us cannot articulate this, most of us understand it in one form or another. So, going out on a limb, I would guess that most of us, given this claim, would doubt it. Some might even say, why does it appear otherwise? Why does the universe appear to have volume? But then what if the fellow in question responded, this is an illusion. It really has only two. I'm going to guess that most people would probably respond to this with more skepticism instead of simply believing it. How do you know that? We would want to know. What if we asked, and the response was, I just do? Would any of us be convinced? But then what if the person in question started talking about how important it was for us to begin believing this as well? Is there anything he can say which will be convincing? Anything at all? What if he expresses pity for the doubter and the skeptic, for all the time being wasted on doubt and the big disappointment we are setting ourselves up for by not finding the strength to simply believe what he is saying? Surely in this you can see the value of skepticism. How does one identify someone with no skepticism, without even the smallest trace of it? He or she believes absolutely anything, everything, whatever he or she is told. Dragons exist, unicorns exist, Bigfoot was eaten by the Loch Ness Monster who was then abducted by aliens who are really leprechauns in disguise. It matters not. The beliefs of someone with no skepticism are dictated by other criteria. The more spectacular the claim, the more plausible it becomes in their eyes. I was once presented with the argument, I don't see what's wrong with asking someone to have a little childlike faith. Your brilliant mind is your biggest problem. First, what's the argument in the first sentence here? Why call the faith childlike? What does that have to do with it? Why, except to establish some kind of connection between the act of believing and the attributes of a child? You should do this because it is childlike. It is cute, charming, and endearing. A childlike act is a cute, charming, endearing act. All that's being said here is, believe because it is cute. Surely we can all see the problem in relying on this particular criterion. A Christian parent whose children have learned the habit of regularly expressing belief in Christian rhetoric, no doubt finds the act cute, charming, and endearing. But is it any less so, any less cute, charming, and endearing when the child also expresses belief in Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny? No. Is it adequate grounds to accept these beliefs as something plausible? No. One of the main reasons children are children is because they have no skepticism. They are completely credulous, and necessarily so. It is a child's survival instinct to trust completely in his or her parents. And, having no responsibilities, they can afford to believe anything. But growing up, means developing a system for differentiating between what should be believed and what shouldn't be, which depends on coming to recognize that both categories of claims exist. But now look at the second sentence here. Your brilliant mind is your biggest problem. What is being said here? You would have no difficulty believing this rhetoric if you just weren't so dang intelligent. Less intelligent people have no trouble believing this. Now, if intelligence impedes one's ability to accept a certain claim, doesn't that imply something kind of unflattering about that claim? Need I say more? So the question this time, Christians, is what criteria do you follow for differentiating between these two groups? How do you tell which claims to believe and which claims not to believe? Surely you won't accept a claim just because someone else says it's cute for you to do so. Surely you won't believe absolutely everything. What system do you utilize? How do the ideas of a flat universe, Santa Claus, and the Easter Bunny fail this system? How do the claims of the Bible survive it? But here's a prediction. Some will no doubt answer me with the Bible itself. We believe whatever the Bible tells us, they will say, and whatever anyone else tells us insofar as it does not conflict therewith. Well then, which version of the Bible? How do you identify one as better than the rest? If you rely on all of them, or any one of them in particular, on the grounds that their message is essentially the same, then why so many different versions? How do you account for the more than 33,000 different denominations of Christianity, each relying on a different interpretation of the Bible, and each finding therein the grounds for accepting its own claim, its own set of claims, and rejecting all the rest?